Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Boyer, and I'm the founder of Transformative Healing. I'm also the founder of SheRises, Amplify, and Thrive for six-figure success. And I'm so excited because coming in early 2025, I am also going to be launching this other amazing project that I'm super excited about called SheRises, Amplify, and Thrive live speaker series. That's right. It's going to be a live speaker series where I'm going to have beautiful light workers coming on, sharing their experiences, their tips and tricks, their messages, their gifts, their healing, whatever it is, you name it. I'm going to bring them on every week so that they can share their message and so you can experience their beautiful energy and healing in their messages as well. So I'm very excited about that. And there will be more to come on that. I'm just putting the final touches on everything. And soon I will launch that. And you will have all of the details of what that entails. And if even in this small little blurb that I gave you about it sparks your interest, please click down below because you want to get your name on that list. You want to be part of that so you can receive those emails so that you can experience the beautiful speakers that I'm going to have on it. So again, if that sparks your interest and you're like, yes, I want to do this, just click the link below and be sure to sign up. You got to sign up. It's very important that you do. All right. So I just wanted to come on here and talk about a question that people have been asking me in regards to, wanting to start their business, their healing business. And I want you to know that what I'm going to talk about today about your healing business, this really is across the board about stepping in and becoming the CEO of your life, really being the leader of your life and stepping into your authenticity of who and why you came here and what you came to be and what you came to share with the world. So I'm going to talk about it from a business aspect, but like I said, what I have to say today will also be relevant in life in general. So healing, when we talk about our business, 30% of it is the business. So what do I mean by that? It means, putting together your website, creating the services, marketing yourself, and, getting visibility and really getting out there. Believe it or not, that is 30% of your business. It's important. I'm not saying that it isn't because you definitely need all of that. Very, very important to have all of that, especially if you're wanting to get your messaging out there. And and when we start our businesses, especially healing businesses, it's from our heart space. So we really have this drive to want to help somebody. So the drive to want to help somebody actually is part of the reason why we need to do the other 70% of what it takes to have a successful business. And that 70% is doing the healing work, your own healing work, really focusing on your healing journey. Why? Because if you internally have wounded frequencies, when you go to do the 30% of your business, those frequencies will go into that 30% of that business. When you sit down to share and use use these beautiful gifts that you have to provide that safe space container for your client to heal, the frequencies that you put into that container are that you will project into that container will be frequencies of wounding. So the moment that your client steps into that container, they will then absorb those frequencies and take them on as their own. So you have to be very cognizant of that. And when we're working with clients, we really have to pay attention to the things that they're saying in the flow that they're moving in, because if it feels all too familiar for you, then it's most likely that we're projecting that type of frequency into that container. And we can pull that frequency back. But the moment that we pull that frequency back and we're done with that client, we need to go do the healing work that we need to do on that frequency, because we will continue to keep projecting that into that healing space, that safe space that we provide for our beautiful clients to really step into their own and, and their own authenticity. So when we talk about healing, a lot of times we focus on, doing this meditation for a half hour to an hour, doing this activation for a half hour to an hour. We also talk about like doing inner child work and doing all of those things. Um, Very important. I'm not saying that they're not, but the truth of the matter is that before we can do any sort of healing, number one, we have to be raw and truthful with ourselves, and we have to take a good look at ourselves. It is so true when we say everything happens and starts and begins within. So so if all of you know me, I use, and this is true, so please know that this is true for everyone. Our external world is a reflection of our internal world. A lot of times when we're talking about manifesting, we can do the visualizations, we can do all of that. The reason we do that is to pull those frequencies in, so those frequencies then reflect or project out the reality that we want to create or that we want for ourselves. So when we are out of alignment from those wounds that we have taken on from childhood, from our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, kids on the playground, our own beliefs, when we take all of that on and it is not in alignment with our soul, we project that out and it really does reflect back in our external world. So for me on a daily basis, I'm really paying attention to my external world, not because I want to live by my external world, but I use it as feedback of, am I in alignment or not? Is there something that I need to heal within myself so that not only can I show up for myself, but I can show up for my business and my clients. So it's really important to be very self-aware. And that's the first step of healing. How self-aware am I about what is happening and going on around me? Second is that if your external world is reflecting back to you a trigger or a wound that needs to be healed, we can't play the victim and go into the blame game. Whereas we have this thing that triggered us, and then we think, oh, the reason I feel that way is because this incident happened to me when I was 5 years old, and my mom told me that I wasn't good enough, or she screamed and yelled at me and told me that I was worthless. So that's why I have it. Well, what you just explained is the experience that was created. And let's face it, we do create these experiences and these challenges before coming into this world so that we can evolve. So that was your first possible evolution opportunity. But because we're young and we're not matured yet and our brains are still developing, we oftentimes don't see it. But yeah, that was our first opportunity for us to have a growth moment, right? It doesn't mean that it is your mom's fault for that happening. And you'll notice I'll use my mom a lot because I've had a very tumultuous relationship with my mom. So when I use those examples of mom, that's why. It's not anything against your mom or anybody else's, but so anyways, I just had to give you that disclaimer really quick, so that you understand why I always say my mom. But I can't go back to that experience from my mom and say, oh, it's her fault that I'm feeling this way, that I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. The moment that we do that, we go into victimization. Victimization mode is really hard frequency. It's a really low frequency, because what it does when we go into victimization mode is that any fear, and when I'm talking about as fear, is things that trigger us, there's usually there's a fear-based connection onto that. So then it really then enhances our fear. And then all of a sudden it's going to bring up all these other insecurities, right? That, oh, I'm not good enough. Or people don't like me because I'm just I'm not as classy as them, or I don't dress like them, or I don't look like them, or I don't have the body like them. It starts to bring up all these other things. But I'm going to tell you again, not your mom's fault. It's just an experience that happened to bring up that trigger or that low vibrational frequency for us to go, oh my gosh, an opportunity to heal. So we have to be raw, we have to be honest, and we have to be willing to say, I'm not going to say that it's our fault, but we have to be willing to take accountability and say, oh, I allowed myself to connect to that frequency and now hold on to that frequency and holding that frequency into my body. But guess what? If you can have accountability to do that, you can take the accountability to release it and be free from it. So when we are talking about healing and our external world reflects something back to us that triggers, the first thing that we really need to do, it's okay to know the experience or the origin of where it came from. But truthfully, we need to ask, okay, in this moment, what is it that I believe about myself to be true that is creating this belief or this limiting belief or program? It comes back to what you believe about yourself, not what mom believes, dad believes, my teacher believes, my partner believes. It's about what I'm believing about myself. And as you all know, when we talk about limiting beliefs or conditioning or programming, that it truly is all BS. It's just a liar that's screaming very loudly, that's trying to convince you that what it is the truth, and it's not the truth. So a lot of times what we can do is when we connect and we find that belief that I'm not good enough, we sit there and we just kind of explore it and we say, well, wait a minute, that isn't true. I was good enough to, become, president of my school class. I am good enough to be the supervisor of this clothing store that when I was 18, like you start thinking about the things that are the opposite of I'm not good enough, because we have done things in our life that truly is good enough. So we have to remind ourselves, and we're also reminding our ego, because our ego uses that as a form of protection. And we're also talking to our subconscious who's replaying that belief to keep us in what it thinks is safe, but it really isn't. So we have to start bringing that stuff to our awareness. So am I really not good enough? No, I am good enough. And again, that's a lie. That's BS. Sometimes that's enough to be like, flick it out. I'm done. And then give you that empowerment to move through and be like, I am good enough. I am going to do this. Like, everybody watch me. And then when you step into that frequency, that new high vibe frequency, guess what? Your external world is going to reflect that back out to you. And so in regards to like business, I'm going to tell you, when you want to talk about fears coming up, it's when you start your own business, a lot of fears start to come up. But those fears, again, aren't true. They're all liars. And it's beliefs that you took on from the moment that you were born all the way up to whatever age you are as your own. And again, the majority of those beliefs, I say majority, but I think all of those beliefs that create any type of fear are lies. So the next step is like, you're like, okay, I still feel this, but I'm still feeling fear. One of the things that you can do with that fear to help you start to transmute that out of your body is, okay, so maybe my fear is I want to do public speaking, right? I want to get out there. I want to share my message, but oh my gosh, I have this fear. I have this fear of I might not be good enough, or maybe nobody will hear me, or what if I fail, right? So then I go inside. I say, what is it that I believe about myself? Oh my gosh, I believe that I'm a failure. Well, why do I feel like I'm a failure? Well, I took on that belief when my mom screamed and yelled at me and told me that I wouldn't amount to anything. Remember experience. Okay, is that true now? Can I talk to people? Yes. Can I carry on a conversation? Yes. When I carry on a conversation, are people engaged with what I have to share? Yes. So that belief of failure or not good enough, is that true? No. But we still may have a bit of that fear. So the other part of healing is action. You have to take action and do your work. You have to do. It is beautiful that we have a lot of healers that send that healing to you, but you'll hear a lot of them also say, like, I'm sending you this healing, And then sometimes clients come back and they're like, well, it didn't do anything. Well, the next question is, well, what did you do to really integrate that healing? We're talking about action. You have to be responsible for yourself in your own healing and take action. So maybe the next step is, okay, so I'm feeling this fear. What is one action step that I can do? And it doesn't have to be big, it could be small, that I can take to start integrating now this new belief that I am good enough, that I'm not a failure, that I can show up and do this. You have to take that step, because a lot of times what happens is, and we can't tell the difference between it, believe it or not, because because of the way that our body reacts. A lot of times the way that our body reacts to fear is the same way that our body reacts to excitement. We have, like, it can almost feel like the same vibration, even though it isn't. So sometimes we misinterpret that fear that comes up as really our soul being excited, because now we've told our soul, I know that I'm not this. I know that this isn't true. I know that I can do this. So now the soul is pushing you to move forward, however big. I mean, if you're like me, I like, as soon as that comes up, I'm like, I'm going to take the biggest action step I can take. But I'm not saying that's for everyone, because I truly am a very action oriented person. So when fear comes up, I'm like, let's go. I got this. I'm going to show you that I can overcome it. But I understand that not everybody is like that. So even if you take one small step, so maybe that small step, knowing like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get ready to do this speaking engagement. Maybe the small step is, you know what? I'm going to set up a group. And even if it's a group with your friends where I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do or share my gift, there's a form of safety in that. Maybe it's getting 3 to 5 of your friends together so that you can practice, start talking about that. Or, maybe it's joining a club to get out there and talk. So I'm going to use an example. I know I'm talking about public speaking, but usually that's like the biggest fear that people have. You know, I have always had jobs where I've talked to groups of people, where I like I just have this natural teaching ability, and I'm like, oh, I want to be a teacher. Little kids, no problem, can completely do that. But when it gets to adults, we have this fear of judgment. Oh my gosh, I'm not saying the right thing. Oh my gosh, they're looking at me. I'm being seen. All these fears start to come up. So a lot of times in my career, I was put in a position where I had to publicly speak, and I would get so nervous. And then, of course, after I was all done, I'd have like 1 or 2 people come up to me and they'd be like, oh, you did a good job. There was no reason for you to be nervous. I could tell you were nervous. So, of course, I'm projecting that out, right? So, then in my career, before I started to become an entrepreneur, I stepped into this role of, ooh, I'm going to be talking to rooms from anywhere. It could be anywhere from 20 to 300 plus people that I'm going to have to talk to. And I was like, man, I really need to work on this fear that I have. So what do? I go inside and I'm like, why do I believe this? Why do I believe that I can't, like, it's scary to be seen? Why do I believe that I'm going to fail? Like all the things that come up, right? Why do I believe this about myself? Well, I do get taken back to the experience of my mom. Like, it was really my mom and dad's belief that children should be seen and not heard. Well, with that belief, there's also the belief that's connected to it that they also don't really want to see you. So when you speak up, they cut you down, right? And just because that experience happened, I'm not saying that it's their fault. I took on the belief that, oh my gosh, anytime that I have to say anything or anytime that I have to talk, it's not going to be relevant. People aren't going to connect with it. People aren't going to care about it. And in my mind, that is a reflection of me being a failure. Well, not true, right? So knowing that I was going into this job of going, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to talk to lots of people. It's me alone standing on the stage in front of people and having to talk to lots of people. One of the things I decided as my small step that I was going to take, I joined Toastmasters. I joined a club. so that I could be around other people that were very encouraging, but also provided me the positive feedback that I needed to be a better speaker, and it's not even to be a better speaker, to be a better version of me, of how I wanted to show up. And so being in that energy and that experience really helped me to hone to that belief that I wasn't good enough, that I was like, well, that's not true. I know I can do this. It really helped me integrate the new belief that I can talk in front of people. I am seen and it is okay. And what I have to say is important. And that was just one small step of just signing up. The other part of healing is showing up. You have to show up for your healing, just like you have to show up for your business. When we talk about showing up for your business, we're talking about, getting out of bed. Maybe it is if if you're a woman, putting makeup on your face, getting camera ready, or making sure that you're showing up 15 minutes early for your in-person meeting. Whatever it is, maybe it's doing that 5 to 10 minute meditation before you meet with your client, or just getting centered, whatever that is part of showing up for your business. That's about 50%. The other 50% is really doing that healing, but showing up for your healing, being raw, truthful, taking accountability, understanding that healing is not an easy process, but you can do it, and understanding that healing is a forever ongoing process, because we came here to be evolutionary. We have to evolve. We have to expand and grow. And we are going to do that from the day that we are born to the day that we cross over and transition back into spirit. That is what we came here to do. And it all begins with understanding the awareness that, oh, this is being reflected back to me. This is a belief that is mine. It is not because of someone else or something else that happened to me. That was just an experience to let me know, hey, this is something that I came here to work on in human form as a spiritual being, so that I can evolve into this beautiful being of light that I truly am. So I know that probably sounds a lot easier. Like, you're probably like, wow, that is really simple. I'm going to tell you it is really simple. The hardest part is being raw and truthful with yourself and holding yourself accountable. That is the hardest piece about healing. So if you are out and about in the world, you are in your business, and let's say that you have a client that is reflecting back to you, like maybe it's a difficult client. Let's face it, I've been a difficult client for other people too. But maybe it's a client that you're like, that like, this is not resonating with me. Like, these aren't the type of clients that I want for my frequency. The moment that you say that, it's not their fault. It's not the fault of your mom. It's not the fault of your partner. They're just mirroring back to you something that you need to heal inside yourself, and say to yourself, what is it that I believe about myself that I need to heal, so that as I move forward, not only in my life, but in my business, that I am projecting out the highest vibrational frequency that I possibly can, to not only have success in my business, but to have success in my life. And that's the first and simple tool. The other tools come in the form of, if it's really difficult to get beyond that awareness that the belief is a lie, that's really when, when we talk about those healing modalities of working with an energy healer, it could be somebody who specializes in neuro linguistic programming. It could be somebody who works with like other parts of the brain of subconscious beliefs. It could be, truthfully, sitting in meditation and just connecting with your soul for however long that is. But you've got to face the wound first. You've got to take accountability about the wound, and you really have to be raw and truthful about it. And I'm going to tell you, the more that you do that, the easier it gets, the quicker you can process that out. And I'm going to say, throw that liar of a belief out, replace it with the right frequency that you want to project out. And it does get a lot easier. And again, I'm going to go back to, because a lot of times people are like, well, I don't really know what it is that I need to heal. Pay attention to your external world. How are people responding to you? How are you, like, what's happening in your external environment? One of the things that I know when I'm out of alignment, I become the most clumsy person in the world. And I know that I'm out of alignment. The other way that I know that I'm out of alignment is that when I am like when I say working with people, but even if when I'm interacting with people, better word, when I'm interacting with people, how are they responding to me? What are they reflecting back to me? And I don't even think of it as it's them being that way. I just look at them as a mirror going, "Oh my gosh, they're not hearing me." If they're not hearing me, I'm out of alignment. There's something within me that I need to heal. Why do I feel that I can't be heard? And then start to heal that and really move forward. And for me now, usually when it comes into my awareness, I'm like, "Psh, that's it." And then, there's that thing where I'm like, where it feels like it's fearful, but I really understand that it's my soul getting excited. And I'm like, man, I'm going to do the biggest thing ever to integrate that. But again, integration could be working with an energy healer to move out whatever that residual energy is and to even it out into alignment with your body. It could be really needing to work with like an NLP practitioner so that they can help you rewire the neural pathways in your brain. It could be, it could be anything, but it all starts with that belief of yourself. And remember, when you are showing up in your highest vibration, 100% authentically, when you show up in your business for yourself that way, you show up in your business that way. And I'm going to tell you, that's the first step of having a successful business. It starts with that 70, I'm going to say 75% healing work. All right, everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you that have taken the time to hear what I had to say today. And, until next time. And again, stay tuned for my new project that's coming up in 2025. I hope you all register for it. But again, thank you so much for listening to me, just being with me today, being with me in this co-creation to provide this information in these beautiful healing frequencies. I'm so grateful to each and every single one of you. From my heart to yours, until the next time, everyone. Bye-bye.